Okay. Hi there. Let's get started. Um, well, as you may be able to see out the studio door here, we have had quite a snowfall in Anchorage. I haven't seen the exact statistics, but I've heard that we set a 20-year record for single day snowfall. It's really fantastic. It's so deep. It is hard to even, it was, people have been working hard all day to clear their vehicles and their driveways and the paths up to their doors. But it was hard to even discern where things that had been covered were. They're all just these little bumps. It's been really, really gorgeous. So I thought it might be helpful for those of us who are in South Central Alaska who have been maybe moving some snow, or for all of us in general to have some reminders about what we can do with our practice to help what the sutras tell us uh, we can do to avoid future suffering, or to avoid the suffering that has not happened yet. So in Sanskrit, the sutras tell us Heyam Dukam Antagaram, Heyam Dukam Antagaram. And that again is telling us that there is the potential to avoid future suffering, and that through the practice of reflection and of wise action, which is yoga, we can avoid the future suffering. So there isn't anything really to be done about the past suffering or the present suffering, except to do this work that we do of pausing and directing our energy towards our intention in order to learn what we can from it and to reestablish what poise we can so that future suffering is reduced or even ultimately eliminated. So I have my mat. I also have today my shoulder stand set up, and I have been trained by Iyengar teachers, and they are very specific and insistent that height be added underneath the shoulders for shoulder stand practice, because we want to avoid future suffering, and forcing the cervical vertebrae to a 90-degree angle and putting the weight of the body into those vulnerable neck bones and muscles is likely to cause future problems. So we put enough height underneath the shoulders that there is some ability to still nod the head, to still pick it up. So I have these wonderfully custom made foam pads to get us off to a good start. A couple of thick blankets is a good alternative. And if you don't have either, I'll show you an option that you can do without any props that is unlikely to cause any injury to your cervical vertebrae. I'll also show you another option besides shoulder stand. Okay, so I'm going to take my mat over to the wall today. It would be nice to have something like the wall to be able to give us some feedback. Added benefit that my wall has a baseboard heater, so it's nice and cozy over here. So let's just start with standing and give the standing body a good shake out, just bouncing a bit so that you feel some of the vibration of the movement through your body. The arms can be relaxed, and you might even let them swing a little bit. Start to amplify your breath so that you can hear it. Maybe you do a little bit of vocalization, like let there be a little buzz. Okay, and then come and draw your shoulders up towards your ears and around and down your back. Good, 2 or 3 times. Again, keep your arms relaxed. Let the action really be in the shoulder blades, lifting and gliding down the back, collarbones do a little bit of broadening and narrowing. Then you might even be doing a little bit of cat-cow, arching and rounding your back to emphasize this movement. You see what works. Okay, and then let's relax into a neutral position. Bring the palms together at the heart. Good, point the middle finger straight up and then draw the heels of the hands down. So there's a bit of a stretch in the fingers, an extension in the wrist coming to a 90-degree angle. And you might make that a movement rather than a position that you're still in. So draw the wrist down, elbows go wide. Good, see if you can equalize the pressure, pushing in towards the midline through all 5 fingers and from right to left and left to right. And then let's pause there for a moment and amplify the breath again. Really broaden across your collarbones as you inhale. And then relax any tension in your shoulders that might be creeping up to your neck or making it so that you can't look around very easily. And see, then if you can, look around quite easily. We'll do 1 or 2 more breaths here with the, again, fingers stretched out, equally pressing the midline. Wrists close to 90 degrees. You might still be doing a little pulse, or you might be at less than 90 degrees if that intensity is not appropriate. We're always looking for the right amount of intensity. Good, and then relax the arms, really let them hang. Let's turn towards the wall, and your feet can be a good, I don't know, 6, 8, 12 inches, depending on how flexible you are in your hips. And we'll lean the back against the wall. And then keep your butt against the wall, but tilt your hips, pelvis forward. Use your hands at the fronts of your thighs to help to ground your thighs back. And then let's bend the knees, take the feet even a little bit wider. Lean over with the left elbow onto the left knee or left upper thigh. And then just let the right arm swing around like an elephant trunk. Good, again, try to keep your sitting bones nice and high, your weight nicely grounded into both legs. Good, if you're liking the intensity in your legs, you can even move the sitting bones up the wall, make them a little straighter. But the objective is to really find freedom in the arm. No effort in the arm, just let it swing, and then switch sides. You can explore some different kinds of rotation. Again, just swing back and forth, side to side, relax any of the effort that might have been exerted in your arm. And relax the weight of the arm down. Okay, and then let's come up with both elbows onto or forearms onto the knees. Bring the hands up just above the knees. Good, keep the sitting bones to the wall, the shoulder blades onto the back of the body. Let your breath expand into your belly, and hopefully you've got a lot of space there that your belly really can expand. Good, feel it get bigger when you inhale. You can even exaggerate it and get a little stretch for your belly, and then draw your belly back up towards your spine as you exhale. Your back, I hope, feels nice and long. Okay, and then let's let the movement in the belly get a little more subtle. Let the sitting bones float up the wall. Let your hands release down towards your shins, maybe your ankles, maybe even to the floor. And then walk the feet a little bit closer together. Shift your weight off of the wall, shift your hips off of the wall so your hips are right over your heels, and then give your legs a little bounce. And keep the knees bent. You can touch your hips back to the wall if that helps you to feel stable. Remember, Sitra Sukham Asanam, our first sutra from this course. Steadiness in the body gives rise to joy. So we want to take advantage of the props, the wall, the environment around us to help us feel steady. Good, and then we'll turn the palms towards each other, start to bring the shoulder blades onto the back, bring the elbows in close to the waist, and then stand up. Good, let your inhalation help you to really lift your sternum, relax your arms down, and then reach your arms back behind you so your pinky fingers touch the wall. Maybe they don't quite touch, maybe they're just reaching for it. Take a breath when you get there. Good, and then drop the arms straight down. Bend your elbows again. And then let's open let's say the door by turning the palms to face forward. Keep your elbows in close to your waist though. Good, just do that a couple of times. Bring the palms wide to face forward. Keep the elbows in close to the waist. Try to keep your pelvis situated right over your legs. You can activate a bit in your legs by lifting the arches of your feet. Next time, the palms turn towards each other. Keep the sense of strength in your upper back, opening in your collarbones, but go ahead and reach the arms forward. So this is straightening the elbows, stretching the fingers. Bring the palms together, interweave the fingers, flip the palms over, point your thumbs down and give your fingers a good stretch. Good, again, keep the legs active. You might even lift your toes to help lift your arches. Good, find your exhalation, and like when we were tilted forward and breathing into the belly, with your exhalation, bring your belly really strongly towards your spine and then hold it there as you swing your elbows up above your shoulders. And they may or may not lift straight up over your shoulders. Again, here you might be doing a bigger movement, pulsing. You might be bending and straightening your elbows. Good, we're looking for steadiness. We're exploring all of the energetic channels in the body through the joints, the muscles, to see where there may be some accumulation of energy that may be released. Maybe the habit of moving repetitively in one plane of movement has some contraction sort of stuck in the muscle. So we'll see what it's like to now hold the elbows any amount elevated. They could be in front of the shoulders, they could be above the shoulders. Let the inhalation take the elbows a little higher each time you inhale. And then open the elbows wide, bend them, and bring your hands to rest behind the base of your skull. Try to keep your hips square. Drop your left elbow down, let your right one lift up. And then any amount, make sure that this right elbow is actually pointed up towards the ceiling, not in front of you. And again, this may be a negotiation. There might be a little pulsing that's happening here rather than just a simple movement. Good, come up to center and then right elbow dips down, left one dips up, and oh, yes. Open up the side of the waist. We open that top elbow towards the ceiling. We broaden across the chest. And we're not trying to force our body again from one rigid position to another, but we're encouraging a flow and a pulse. Relax the arms back down then and roll the shoulders and find that little bounce. Good, stand now so that you're about an arm's length away from the wall. Have your hip facing the wall. I'll start with my left hip facing the wall and left arm extended. Good, give the fingers a good stretch again. And lean or push into that hand. Find a strong channel of energy through the arm. So that means a straight elbow. If you're hyper flexible, make sure that you don't inadvertently bend your elbow in the other direction. So if you're hyper flexible, even a little micro bend or a little pulse might be helpful. And for all of us, when we bend the elbow, and we can go ahead and try bending the elbow and bringing the forearm to the wall, the elbow should point straight down. So you can either stay here with the stretch of the fingers and the extension of the wrist and the lean or the push into the hand, or you might do a little more dynamic movement. Maybe you're just going halfway. But this is a nice option for a side plank position. You can step your feet even a little further away from the vertical to find a little bit more lean over into the arm. And then maybe extend the right arm out to the side, maybe turn that palm and lift it up overhead, maybe take a side bend into the wall. Let your breath come to the forefront. Enjoy the support of the wall and see if you can liberate yourself from it. So push into the wall and reach away from it with your hip. And find some space to move your breath into. Go ahead. Come out of whatever version of that side plank position that you were exploring. And then again, we'll may change how close or how far away from the wall we are based on the flexibility in our shoulder. But we're just going to start tracing a circle with the fingers. Maybe the middle finger being the longest one, probably. And let's do our best to try to keep the hips square to the front of the room, not let them turn towards the wall. So it might even be just the slightest movement away from the wall with the hips. If you want and you find you have the capacity for more intensity, you can even slightly angle your feet and your hips away from the wall. Okay, we're doing a backstroke action. And if you find that you're able to maintain the straight elbow and make a really smooth circle, you might step in a little bit closer. Good, let's do just a few more rotations. It's usually a lot more important or interesting in our practice to see where our restraint is compromised. So when I get in here and I get just about here, that's where the integrity of my circle and the steadiness of my posture is affected. So there's where I bring my breath. Here's where there's a transformative potential around the suffering that hasn't happened yet. I'm going to give the arm a good shake. Remember, you can do this elephant trunk movement to completely relax the capsule around the shoulder. Come around to the second side for the wall plank. Apologies on the orientation, but I want to show you both sides. So stretch the fingers, middle finger points up, just about shoulders distance. The bent elbow points straight down. You may or may not be bringing your forearm to the wall. Find just the right amount of lean into the hand or push into the hand. Remember, you can step the feet a little wider apart. Good. When we use props, we're using them to create dynamic, sort of a tensile strength between our body and its response to the support. So as you push into the wall and pull more of its strength from it, it can extend out across or through the body. Good, we may take this left arm now out to the left, maybe up overhead, maybe you're doing the side bending version. Again, pushing the wall away, creating space between the wall and your body. Let's release that side plank and come for the rotation of the arms. So about arm's length away. A lot of integrity here in the stability of the, not only the hips, but the torso. This is really a relatively exclusive movement for the arm. So if you find that it's, more of a whole body movement, that's okay. But maybe, give your body a whole body a chance to move in a different way and then find where and how you might be able to compromise, negotiate, start to isolate this movement in the shoulder if it feels very unfamiliar. We may find that place where there's that little tremble, a little transformation. And then we may start to feel the energy rising, a little buzz in the arm, and especially if your arms are already relatively fatigued from some effort. We don't want to release all of the energy available. So before you lose the integrity of the movement, maybe just after you feel the buzz of awakening, release that effort and come to center. Okay, let's come away from the wall. Actually, one more thing at the wall. So since we have it here, let's bring both hands to the wall for a wall plank. And then slide the hands down to about hip height and walk the feet back. So we'll use the wall again to help to give some space in between the legs and the wall. The spine gets to fill all of that space. Good traction for the spine. You might be doing a little lifting and dropping of your shoulders, especially if there's some tension there. You can always and should bend your knees to make sure that your hips stay high. We don't want the hamstrings to be pulling the pelvis under, rounding the back. Okay, and then let's take a step forward, walk the hands a little further up the wall and see if we might find a little more extension for the upper back and shoulders. So take the feet back, start to move your armpits towards the wall, big extension. Remember, push into the wall. Let your breath move into your belly, nice and open here now. Again, you might be pulsing. Your hands might be lower down on the wall. And just see what it's like to have them a little higher than your hips. A version of an upward facing dog pose. Armpits also open, belly also open. And then come back to a plank, maybe a low plank position. Maybe forehead comes to the wall. And we give a moment. So ground through the heels, to broaden through the rib cage. Then keep the neutral alignment through the spine. Keep the eyes either closed or the gaze downward as you push into the wall. Relax the hands from the wall, stand in your mountain pose, and let a little weather system move through. So again, whether that's a little bounce or a shake or a sway. Then roll the shoulders back and around. Here you can keep your feet about hip distance apart, or if you'd like to add the cross of the legs for the classic version of the eagle pose or Garudasana. That's what we'll do with the arms. So you might just be letting the hips sway. You could be steady in Tadasana with feet beneath the hips, or even with a narrow stance, Samastatihi, with the feet together. Leave a little space between the heels so the back of the pelvis knows to also be quite broad and relaxed. So let's swing the arms forward, bend the elbows, and then open them wide. Bring the shoulder blades together and make sure your gaze is free. You might move the elbows up and down a couple of times to help to facilitate. Good, let's release the arms now down, straight, swing them in front of you, left one underneath the right, and then just start to lift and release the fingers. Find just the right position of the top elbow on the bottom forearm. It might be midway, it might be up at the crux of the elbow, it might be even all the way here at the wrist. See where you can find some steadiness in your movement. And then let's pause close to the top of the movement. Maybe find a little smaller pulse. Good, maybe the backs of the hands come together, maybe the wrists wrap around each other so the palms come together. Again, find the steadiness in the gathering up of your arms towards the midline in front of you. And then give yourself a little freedom. You can excavate a bit around the edges of the shoulder blades. Move the elbows up and down. Use your breath and the pace of your movement to help to facilitate a easing of effort, a flow of energy through the shoulders. And again, see that your neck is free from the burden of your shoulders and your gaze can look left and look right. Good, let's release across, open the arms wide, spread your fingers, straighten your elbows, lift your elbows up high, any amount. Maybe they even come up above the shoulders and palms face towards each other. If it feels good to have the arms extended, you can keep them extended. You might also move back to the cactus position, the hands behind the head, hands on your hips or hands at your side. The position of the arms is a nice way to fine tune the energetics, not too intense or too lifted, but also well grounded. We'll take a side bend, one direction, and then the other, and then back to center, palms to your heart, relax your arms. Good, swing the arms in front, this time right over left. Again, start to see, or left over right, the opposite one. Start to see where that pivot point is. That gives you some steadiness. Good, let's release, excavate, move as freely as you can around the shoulders. Liberate them. Maybe also offer, if you find some tenderness or some memory of some effort, maybe offer them some gratitude. And one more time, release, spread your fingers, lift your palms, and bring them to your heart. Relax your arms down. Okay, there's a little tour for the shoulders, a lot of different movements that you might do to help restore a sense of openness and ease.